use of the natural resources of their ancestral homeland. And we thank you all for tuning in. We're thrilled to be able to present this event virtually in the midst of concerns surrounding public health. Town Hall is proud to be a community-focused organization and a place where we can share and sustain ideas and creativity, even if that means we can't gather in person. I'd like to thank Samantha and Angela for helping us keep the conversation going here at Town Hall. For viewers who want to watch this broadcast with closed captioning, we recommend viewing this stream on our YouTube page. To enable real-time closed captioning, click the CC button in the bottom right corner of the video player. The video will be available for rewatching immediately following tonight's broadcast. Town Hall is adding new events and podcasts every day. Upcoming programs include Porshita Kakpour on growing up Iranian in Los Angeles, Bart Gelman on Edward Snowden in the American Surveillance State, as well as Michael Shermer, Kirk Bloodworth, Sister Helen Perjean, our annual UW Engage Science Series, and still more installments of Earshot Jazz live in the forest. Meanwhile, you'll also find many of our past talks available in our digital media library. So check out the media tab on our homepage, our YouTube channel, or search Town Hall Seattle wherever you listen to podcasts for more quality content. Town Hall and the nonprofit community at large have been put under significant strain due to the recent wave of event cancellation. If you made a donation on the way into the live stream tonight, thank you. We hope you will consider supporting us during this time by using the donate button at the bottom of your screen or by becoming a member through our website. There's also a way to give by texting Town Hall to the number 44321. Our partner booksellers have also been hit by the negative effects of the COVID outbreak and can use your support as well. If you're interested in supporting local independent bookstores by purchasing a copy of the book being presented tonight, please use the link on the live stream page to purchase through Third Place Books. Tonight's conversation will last around 35 minutes. Afterwards, Samantha and Angela will take your questions. Please submit your questions in the Ask a Question button on Crowdcast. Although we cannot guarantee that they will be able to address every question, we'll try to get to as many as possible. Town Hall's work is made possible through your support and the support of our sponsors. Our Arts and Culture series is supported by For Culture, Arts Fund, Office of Arts and Culture, and Wyncote Foundation Northwest. Finally, Town Hall is a member-supported organization, and I'd like to thank all of our members watching tonight. Samantha Irby is a Chicago author, essayist, memoirist, and comedy writer who tends the blog Bitches Gotta Eat. She's the co-writer with Ian Belknap of the comedy advice blog irbyandgarbes.com. In addition, she co-hosts the Sex Positive Live Show, the Sunday Night Sex Show, and serves as host of the live lit series Guts and Glory with Keith Ecker. Irby is collaborating with comedian Abby Jacobson to develop a television adaptation for FX based on her popular book Meaty. Irby's work has appeared on The Rumpus, In Our Words, and Jezebel, and her book We Are Never Meeting in Real Life made the New York Times bestseller list for paperback nonfiction. Angela Garbes is a nonfiction writer and the author of Like a Mother, a narrative nonfiction book exploring the emerging science and cultural myths of pregnancy. Like a Mother was an NPR Best Book of 2018, a finalist for the Washington State Book Award in nonfiction, and deemed excellent by the New York Times. Her work has appeared in the New York Times, The Cut, Bon Appetit, and has been featured on NPR's Fresh Air. Garbes formerly served as staff food writer for Seattle's alt weekly, The Stranger. Irby's book, Wow, No Thank You, Essays, is the subject of tonight's talk. Please join me in welcoming Samantha Irby and Angela Garbes.
Hey. Hey. Thanks, Megan. And thank you, Town Hall and Third Place Books, where you can buy the book via that link. And thank you, Sam, for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's 9 p.m. here, so I need to know that I'm going to turn into a pumpkin at some point this evening.
We appreciate even more than your presence here, and we'll definitely keep it to an hour.
Oh, it's okay.
Well, we were talking earlier this week. I did a little test run with the Town Hall staff, and they're like, we have it slotted. We have up to 90 minutes. And I was like, I don't think we'll be here for 90 minutes. Like, that seems like a lot of time.
Who can last? I can't do anything for more than like an hour before I really start fading. And that was like in the before times.
Yeah.
Now it's like, attention
spans are withering, as is my life force.
Yeah, I have to like take Sudafed to be awake.
So we're gonna, just for the audience who, we're so happy that you're here. It's slightly painful that we can't actually interact with you and see you, but
I know.
Feel your energy. But so just to let you know, I have, Sam has graciously agreed to read something from her book. She's indulging me in that request. But I wanted to just give a little bit of an introduction, just talk about what the book has meant to me in this moment. So like in this like pandemic times, it's, everything feels different. And on some level, everything feels, low key bad all the time. And even like moments of joy, within a moment, you're like, oh, right. But the world is falling apart. Right. And we have no plan to save people or to figure this out. But when I was reading your book, I was like, what is this that I feel? I feel just happiness, and it doesn't feel complicated, and it doesn't feel like it's just going to fall off. And then, let's talk about this. The book has been, sorry, you went away for a second. Now you're back. Okay. I'm just going to keep going. I still see your average. I'm just going to, okay.
Why did
there you are.
There we go. Okay.
Don't touch anything.
Okay.
I mean, this is big. Your book was an instant New York Times #1 bestseller, right? That's just one measure, but that's huge. And for like the last 6 weeks, it's been a New York Times and an indie bookstore bestseller, right?
That's weird.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of fucked up to say like you're killing it during this pandemic, but you are, right? Like, and the thing about it, when I was thinking about it that way, it's another reason that brought me like true joy, because if there's anyone who should be killing it in the pandemic, it's a fat Black queer lady who has been grinding for 10 years, who up until not long ago was an hourly waged worker, like who has multiple chronic illnesses, multiple comorbidities. Like, you are like the demographic that our society has just decided like it's okay if you die. Right? Like, but meanwhile you're out here getting your life, right? Like,
what's funny is like when I originally like was trying to come up with the title, I mean, I'm glad we didn't go with it, but one of the ones on my list, the one at the top of my list, was Dying is Fine. So I have accepted.
I mean, it's what we're doing every day.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad they talked me out of it.
Yeah, but I think like your success has been like an actual like source of real joy to me, because it feels like in this moment it's like as close to like some bit of justice that like, that we might not otherwise have. Yeah. So I don't know. I just wanted to say that and to thank you for just being you and putting this work out into the world. Yeah.
Well, that's fair. I don't know how to gracefully accept a compliment without deflecting it, but I will say thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if it's justice, but thank you.
I mean, it's a taste, right? Like,
yeah, no, it's good. Yeah. I mean, I deserve it, right? No, I'm just kidding. Thank you. See, I'm making it weird because I don't know how to like have people say nice things to me.
I mean, but I don't know that's most normal people, not normal. I mean, there's no normal, but like regular people have a hard time with that. Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah,
you said thanks. We can move on.
I wish I didn't have to
linger in it.
My own face while you were saying nice things about me. I'd much rather like be hearing this over a loudspeaker than like looking at my actual face.
Well, if you want now, you can hide behind your book and read for a little bit.
I am going to read. So this was a request. My favorite thing is for someone to tell me what they want to hear. And Angela wanted to hear this little bit from Body Negativity, from this terrible book that I hope you all will purchase. Okay. So the Body Negativity, the piece is essentially about all of the things that we're told we have to do to have a body and have a good body and have a healthy body or a good looking body, and how I don't think any of those things is possible for a normal person. Okay. What's happening on your back right now? Do you even know? How much hair is on it? Is the skin soft? Has years of spending every day in a straitjacket tight bra left weird marks on it? How are your moles doing? What's up with that weird scaly patch? Are you already so tired from all the other shit you have to keep track of that you can't be bothered to worry about the part of your body you can't even fucking see? I feel that. I think the last time I actually thought to myself, hey, I wonder what's going on my back, was in 2002 when I was sleeping with this dude who lived in the apartment downstairs from mine. He would moan weird shit during sex like, you are so warm inside, and I love looking at your back while making love to my rear end. I laughed the first time he said the warm thing because, I'm sorry, what? Have you been fucking corpses? Do I have undiagnosed measles? Anyway, I'm not such an asshole that I wouldn't try to make my back nicer for someone who enjoyed looking at it. So I bought a back scrubbing loofah stick and almost dislocated my fucking arm trying to scrape the dead layers of skin off my back with so much force that it bled. Then I would squirt lotion on the wand end after my shower and try to slather it on because I hadn't anticipated how dry and raw the trickiest part of my body to reach was going to feel after having 20 years worth of dead cells scrubbed off it. I ended up having to back up to the towel rack and gingerly rub myself up and down like a dog against a dry towel to try to get the lotion to absorb into my wounded skin. My freshly unearthed baby back ribs didn't feel right for weeks, but the next time homeboy tapped on my door inappropriately late at night, bearing nothing but lidded eyes and a throbbing erection, he did stop accidentally slipping into my anus long enough to ask, ouch, babe, did you fall on your back? You want me to put some liquid bandage on this? Good old thermometer dick reminding me that no good deed goes unpunished and you should never do anything nice, ever, for anyone. Let's flip your bodies over and examine all the shit that you could do but won't, because who could possibly keep track of all this to have a nice chest? I don't mean your boobs, because they should be addressed on their own. I'm talking about that piece of real estate between your neck and where your boobs begin. Here's how I take care of my chest. Sometimes when I wash my face, but only after I've taken a shower, I'll accidentally squeeze out too much moisturizer or put too much oil or serum into the palm of my hand, and as I'm frantically looking around the bathroom trying to find some way of disposing of it that doesn't include dribbling it all over the floor, it'll dawn on me through my morning fog that I could just rub it on my chest and have a weirdly shiny breastplate for the first few hours of the day. I know that back acne is a thing, but I'm pretty sure I also have chest acne. I don't know if that's what it is, but sometimes I get these little bumps. And what the fuck did I survive puberty for if 30 years later I'm going to be squinting in the Clearasil aisle at the drugstore trying to figure out which of the options available works best on a saggy thorax? Your breasts are supposed to sit right up under your chin from the moment they unexpectedly sprout on your chest until your 99th birthday. But you know what? I can't do it. I do not have perky tits, and that's okay. I think my pinning my nipples to the nape of my neck days are over, dude. One of the things that I keep telling myself over and over again like a mantra is people already know what your body looks like, so you don't have to try anymore. My breasts are shaped like summer squash. Just as I am unwilling to fight with gravity as it ravages my face, these large bags of wet sand hanging below my clavicles are no longer going into daily battle against physics. Are they even? Are they lifted? Are they separated? Does the band fit? Is the cup right? Does the underwire dig? Is the bra flat against your skin? Does it create weird lumps under your clingy sweaters? Is it lacy? Is it breathable? Is it scratchy? Does it wick moisture? I heard that's a thing you're supposed to want. Wait a minute. What were we talking about again? Theoretically, everyone loves a strong, broad shoulder, but no one tells you how to get one. So I guess you either have to be born with them, or that's what those odd machines at the gym that make you look like a bird flapping its painfully heavy wings are for. Michelle Obama is the gold standard for arms, and I'm sure there's a BuzzFeed interview with her trainer on how they got that way, but life is fucking short. Invest in some nice cardigans. Put Vaseline on your elbows. Wear sweatshirts 365 days a year. Get arm definition lifting a coffee cup. Armpit care and maintenance is a whole thing. You could, like I have, eschew all the possibilities and just let it go full lichen, occasionally spraying some herbal deodorant that doesn't work into your dark arm cave to keep wild dogs off you. Or you could wax or sugar or depilatory or shave or laser the hair off, dab it with something to prevent ingrowns, powder it, and deodorize it. Every day, every couple of days, weekly. I guess that all depends on what kind of hair you have and whether or not you are taking beauty vitamins. I definitely am, by the way, because I love an easy fix, even if it isn't real. The sheer number of available deodorants to choose from is staggering. I don't know how a person could be expected to make an informed decision without getting a bachelor's degree in chemistry first. It used to just be like, do you want to smell my baby powder or cherry blossoms every time you raise your arm in class? Now it's, hey, would you rather be sweaty 100% of the time or destroy your fucking brain? Was I supposed to keep reading? Do you want me to keep reading? Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted.
I'm back.
Okay, you're back.
Okay. I muted myself because
Sorry, everybody.
No, please. I felt like this was the case that I made to Sam, where I was like, if I go to a Sam Irby event, I want to hear you read. I want to hear you. I mean, I needed to hear. My soul needed the thermometer dick joke to be read out loud. Like I needed your voice in my earbuds.
I forgot where you told me to stop, and then I was like, wait, this whole thing is really long.
It's okay.
I've been reading for 15 minutes. I
might privately like have you send me a voice memo of talking about the legend Brazilian waxer.
Oh, I thought that's where I was supposed to stop. I will call you. I will give you a personal reading after this.
Thank you.
And anyone else, just text me. I'll do it.
Thank you for that.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, there's so many things that your work touches on, but what I love about it is fundamentally, it's about being in your body. And when you write about your body, you're writing about, every way that it interacts with, every level of society, whether it's institutions or just like interpersonal or just how you see yourself. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's probably why it resonates so much with so many people. Like, because what you were saying was, yes, like, I mean, the standards that we're supposed to hold our bodies to are impossible, and or you have to be rich to even come close to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. But really, like, everyone's body is a mess. Everyone's body, like, in a different way, is falling apart and failing us. But look, you were saying, like, there's no such thing like as a good body is one that it's alive and you're here, right? And it's getting you through. And so I think like there's that. What you're saying is, it's enough to have a body.
Yeah.
Right? And it's okay to sort of do the least with that.
Yeah. I sometimes feel overwhelmed by the sheer, at the end of the chapter, I kind of get into, and this is a thing that has vexed me as a person dealing with Crohn's disease, is like all of the things you are supposed to eat to keep your body going. And it's like, if you truly ate the 12 cups of kale or whatever and broccoli, I mean, you would never stop eating. You would like there just is no time or money to eat all of the like nuts you're supposed to eat, in addition to all the things you want to eat, right? So like if we're talking about the things you're supposed to eat and then the things that you want to eat, it's like I need 14 cow stomachs to do all of that. And there's this idea that someone somewhere is doing it, right? That someone out there is getting all of the folic acid they need during a day and all of the vitamins, but it's no one I've ever met. And like the idea that it could ever be me is impossible. I just am never going to like get all of the nutrients I need. So I'm not even nutrients, but fiber and this and that. So I think,
but then it also takes out part of the thing about eating, which is that it's for pleasure,
right?
When it's just your job,
right?
And it's basically like a full-time job. Right? Yeah, what you're talking about, like that's, you want some joy in there. And I'm not someone who could ever be full either on 14 cups of kale, even though sometimes I do like a salad. I
had one for dinner. I felt very much like I loved myself for the 5 minutes, but like for the rest of the time I was eating the salad, I was like, this is a lot of work and kind of gross. It's like, I really wish that this was something else. So like, I just want us all to be free enough to like say that I am not getting in all of the beans and like, that's fine. If I lead the like, I don't eat enough beans revolution, then that'll be good for me.
Well, I mean, I think there's also this idea in our culture that, so if you were to do your optimal kale nut situation, right, and you had maximum nutrients, then somehow you would be more healthy or perfectly healthy, and that's a good life. Because like there's this idea that if you're healthy, you're morally superior to other people. Whereas what about people who are, disabled, people who are, people are living with these problematic, inconvenient bodies, right? And we are no less good than other people.
Right. I would much rather do whatever I'm gonna do and have that shave a few years off. Like, be like, I was talking to my friend's dad who had watched some documentary, and he was like, how people watch that, like old people watch documentary and think like that they're a professor all of a sudden. And I was like, motherfucker, you watched one movie. But he came to me and was like, oh, like you got to cut out this and you got to do that. And I was like, man, if you are 72 and like, counting your potatoes or whatever, what is the point? Why even live to be that age if you can't like eat ice cream all day if you want? Like what? Why? Like, so you can be around at 90 and be like, no way. I'm actively decomposing all the time. I'm just going to do whatever I can do to get to the next day.
Because dying is fine.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a salad, but sometimes it's cheese.
I wanted to ask you, so, like you write so much about your body and so openly, and where do you think that came from? Is it just, I know that when you like started out, it wasn't, you were like, I'm going to become a writer now. And this is like my thing. Like, but I wondered, like, where does that come from? Because it's stuff that a lot of people are uncomfortable with, right?
I definitely did not grow up with like smart, progressive people, right? And there was no like sort of, it was like nobody ever gave me a hard time because I was fat, but they certainly weren't like, embrace your body and accept, it was just like, well, we're poor, you look like we look, it's fine. But I think, and so I didn't like kind of grow up with any like sort of radical self-acceptance or anything. Like I was definitely wallowing in self-hatred. But when I started writing and when I started like performing my work, especially, it was like, it felt as scary as it is, and it still scares me, right? It's still, I think fat people especially like perform the good fatty thing where it's like, I'm fat, but I love walking. You know, there's like that whole thing. And I didn't ever want to be that because that's not real. But it's like, like writing about it, even as like uncomfortable as it still makes me feel, is just like, well, at least you know what you're getting when you get it, right? Like if you read something I've written, then you know who I am, and I can't like hide from that. Mm-hmm. And it was the same. I think maybe I started with the Crohn's first, to like kind of being really open about that, because it's like, well, then I don't have to explain what I'm going through. I don't have to like tell you. If you've read something I've written, then you know I'm going to be in the bathroom for 35 minutes and like, you know, don't call an ambulance or whatever. It'll just be a minute. And I think when writing about my body, it was sort of like the same thing. I remember like dating online, and I had an OkCupid profile, and my name, I mean, obviously people knew what they were getting because my screen name was Fart Throb, you know, but then I was like, all of my pictures were very honest, as like, you know, kind of exposed as that made me feel, because I never wanted someone to show up at a bar and be like, oh, you know, the version, the version of you that I saw online was a lie. And so I've always felt more free in my writing to talk about it. So then at least like when we meet, you're not like, oh, I thought you were like a tiny little waif. And I'm like, actually put that on my step. I need part of it, you know, you know? So, I mean, as like scary, and it's different because like, it's sort of, I write alone, and then I just like send things to my editor, and I'm like, put it in the book before I change my mind. So it takes a lot of people who don't talk to me about it see it before it's published. So then it still kind of feels like mine, right? Yeah. And then once it's out in the world, it's like, well, I can't take it back. I have said these things about my yeasty thigh folds, and now everyone has read them, and so we're just going to talk about it. But it feels less scary, especially now, because I just kind of write it in my little hovel, send it off, and then months later it comes back in a book. I mean, I don't reread it until they send me like the first pass of edits. And I'm always like, oh, I put that in here. You know, obviously I like wrote it in a fugue state and immediately forgot it.
What you were saying, the word that I picked up on that I think that seems really important to me is it's free, right? Yeah. It's free. You're like, oh, I was loose when I was writing that. I must have been in that place where I'm like unselfconscious. This is just what I need to say. Yeah. But I think that there's something too when you make yourself free, because if you're already sort of saying the things that, you know, you imagine maybe people might make fun of you or like give you a hard time about, if you've already said it, then like what can they come at you with?
I mean, that I'm glad you said that, because that's a big thing for me too. Well, one, I'll say anything in service of a joke, right? Like I'm always trying to get the laugh, and I take aim at myself first, because, but you know, it's like, I don't know if it's punching down, it's punching laterally, right? Like no one's gonna get hurt. But the thing about like, I mean, you learn how to like deflect bullying or comments or whatever when you're young. Either you're like a crier, or you're like, I'm going to make the joke before you make the joke. Yeah. And then it takes the teeth out of your joke because I already said it. Like if I walk in the door being like, I'm poor and I have shoes from Payless, what are you going to say that's going to be worse than that? So I learned that as a coping mechanism early, like just to get through the day. It's like, you know, punchline after punchline, like my own shit.
Goddess bless, that's like your coping mechanism, not just absorbing it, right? Yeah. And internalizing it, which I think a lot of people, that's what a lot of people.
I mean, there's some of that too, but in the moment, I definitely am like, I'll say it before you can say it, and then later I'm like, well, they still said it and it stung, but at least I said it first, you know?
Yeah. So there's this idea of like embodiment, right? Or like how we think of people who are embodied, which in my mind, it means like you're occupying your body and you're like also connected to your brain. It's like not to get too woo, right? But I think I've probably made the mistake for most of my life where I've imagined that like people who are embodied like are somehow like super healthy or like have a certain kind of body. But you know, when I read your work, I'm like, no, this is a deeply embodied person. Like, because also you'll just bust out. You're like, well, I have these squamous cells in my ileum, right? Or like, you know what I mean? So it's very like when you're dealing with all of this stuff, like you acquire, like you become an expert on your body, right? Like you're not a scientist, but you have like you acquire some terminology, but you also just acquire the knowledge of that lived experience. Like, is that something that you think about? Like, I don't know, does that seem accurate to say? Like, I'm a deeply embodied person.
Well, I mean, that sounds more like beautiful than the way I'd ever put anything. So I appreciate you for giving me that language, because now I'm going to co-opt it and say I'm a deeply embodied person. I think the way I think of myself, that's true. Like I often feel like my brain is a thing trapped inside this body. And so I know, and because it's given me so many problems from so many areas, I'm like, deeply knowledgeable. Well, so not to get all this about it, but when you have like a lot of problems and you're in like a fat black body and you have to advocate for yourself at the doctor a lot, you learn that you need to learn all of the stuff they're saying so that when you see this other doctor that you don't know very well, you can tell them what they need to know to like treat you, so they don't just write you off. So I think when I first started dealing with the Crohn's, I learned all of the stuff because, you know, you're seeing this kind of doctor and that kind of doctor, and you got to know what this one says and that one says. So I learned kind of this stuff just as a function of like making things easier for me. I'm always just trying to make my life easier to move through. And then I think once I really started writing about it, oh no, what is happening?
We can still hear you, so I'm just
okay. There we go.
There we go. You'll come back to us.
We live in the country and our internet is bullshit, so I'm so.
Doesn't it shut off? It shuts off at 9:30. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, don't move to the. There's probably a raccoon outside chewing out the Wi-Fi, whatever. So if I disappear, just blame this country ass internet. But so I got to know all the terminology and stuff just so that I could be more helpful to myself. And then when I started writing about it, I think that's when I was like, oh yeah, so this is a thing that I have to, I mean, I think I have a contentious relationship with my body, but I have learned it so well that I can like write about it. And I feel deeply in tune with it despite all the problems.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that's the thing is I think having problems or being in tune with it doesn't, I mean, I feel like I'm late to the game on this. I think up until maybe like a couple of years ago, I was like, you can't be in tune with your body unless your body looks a certain way. Like you have to achieve some sort of a health, but that's just, it's bullshit.
I can't believe that, like because I would feel like it's, I mean, this is, I don't know, it's not a grass is greener situation, but because I haven't had children, I feel like, well, I can't be as in tune with what my body can do as a woman who's like, grown a child. I feel like you've got to be in tune with your body in a way that I could never, you know, understand. Like I've never grown a life. I've grown some tumors.
But I feel like there's something you're in tune with your body because just because your body's built to do this thing doesn't mean you should or you have to. So I think there's a certain, I mean, I think it kind of goes both ways where I feel like to know that that's not something you want, like requires being very in tune with your body as well.
Yeah. No, that's for sure.
I was thinking, I wanted to ask you about it, and I'll just go into it now because I was like, let's talk about your endometrial ablation.
Oh yeah.
Because so just to go back to that idea that, I mean, it breaks my heart, like you kind of glossed over it, but that idea of like, I have to go into, and I'm familiar with this feeling, it's not exactly the same, but like when you go into a doctor's office or a provider's office and you're like, I am fully prepared for you not to believe anything I'm saying. I'm fully prepared for you not to listen. I'm fully prepared to like, have to like, advocate for myself, maybe even get a little heated if necessary. Right. But so, I mean, I have questions about the ablation because I'm like, so does this make you menopausal now? Are you perimenopausal?
I am.
Do you feel that in your body? Like, are hormones off?
Well, so I'm perimenopausal, but I think that's just a function of my age. But the ablation I didn't need any hormone replacement therapy or anything like that. They just kind of, I mean, for lack of a more eloquent way of putting it, like nuked it inside and rendered it non-functional. So I still have a uterus, still have all my, now I'm going to sound like a fucking idiot, all of my fallopian tubes, and yes, I still have the curly swooshy tubes. They just don't do anything anymore.
Okay. But this
I don't know if I even make eggs. I think I must make eggs, but
then what happens to them, right? Like, and I'm asking because I'm like knocking on the door of.
I mean, we're gonna have to ask a real scientist. Do they just like fall out? Do they reabsorb? Because there's nothing for them to attach to anymore because they burn.
It's like a scorched earth.
Yeah, they burn the inside of my uterus so that it produces I haven't had a period in 2 years, 3 years, 2 years, something like that.
And then eventually you'll just go into menopause because you'll just have eggs. But at this point they just like wither and
Yeah.
in you.
Yeah. I don't know when you stop producing eggs.
I mean, it's any day now. You're born, actually, when you're a fetus, you actually come out as a baby with all of the eggs that you're ever going to have. They're just immature. Yeah, like this is wild. And so then they just like mature and then you go. So there's a limited number of eggs. So like I feel like I know I'm on my last few eggs. Like I know like I'm not, I don't know, like I'm 42 and I feel like my period's just gotten sort of weird now, right? And has changed. And so, yeah, so I was just curious about that. And the thing to go back to it, like you write about this in the book, like I was very angry as I was reading this, as you were like, I just want to take this thing out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm close to 40, like I'm not having children.
Yeah.
My period is a source of shame and like discomfort and it's terrible for me. And I want you to just take it out.
Yeah.
And they were like, no.
It was so unmanageable that I was like, I am a health hazard when I leave my home because I just am. It's like the Shining elevator scene all the time. But like and again, I don't know enough to speak like confidently, but that's when like insurance gets involved and the doctor and your age and the this and the that. So they were like, no, we got to leave it in. But you
can't decide what you can do with your body. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, it was not my choice. They were like, we will. I mean, they did everything short of taking it out. I had to go in for surgery and be completely out. But then they just burned it to a crisp.
Right. On that note, I feel like maybe I was like, this is my personal thing. I'm like, I need to talk about the uterus.
No, that's great. No one has asked me about this.
Well, because I think, the interesting thing too is when you go through the step-by-step process, like to talk about like that, the knowledge of your body, whether you have children or not, right? Like you talked about having a DNC, which is a procedure that I have had after having lost a pregnancy. And they were like, before, you might have to go in, we'll have to do this DNC to like scrape out what's left in there. So that's like a thing that I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
But you were having it on the flip side of like, I have zero interest in having children. I just want to vacate this property, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that it's all, these things are tied. This is like female reproductive health, whether or not you're choosing to reproduce or not. It's about whether or not you have the right to decide what's going on in your body.
And you don't. Mr. Blue Cross and Mr. Blue Shield got to make the call on what happened to my uterus. Yeah. But I mean, luckily for me, here's the thing. it took. Sometimes it doesn't take.
Yeah.
And it took. And I mean, whatever burned potato chips are left inside my uterus, there nothing's sticking to them. I haven't.
It's just like the eggs are like.
So I don't know. Maybe I got to write a thank you note to Blue Cross Blue Shield, being like, "Well, you got this one."
And you didn't have to have a major organ review, I guess. But I think if you want to take it out, you should be able to take it out. But anyway, to move on to something lighter, this is but this is like another personal thing where we need to talk about bidets. I feel that you need to get a bidet for your home.
I should. So I have a travel bidet, which is like a little.
Is it the tushy?
Yeah. Is it like a? Yes. It's like a long, like a thing. Can crush down, and it has like a little spout, and you can fill it with water and shoot it at your butthole.
You should get one for your home. I had one. And it happened. My mom got it for me when I was pregnant because I was like, my second or third trimester, I was like, when I sit down on the toilet, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't know what's going to come out. I don't know what end. And
I mean, me too. And I'm not pregnant. So
and it was very difficult to reach around and wipe. And so she was like, you need to get a bidet. And I was like, we really don't need this. And then she just ordered one for us. And it showed up, and my husband and I are like, we absolutely do not need this thing. We looked at it for like a month. And then he put it on, and then within 24 hours, we were like, how did we ever live without this? And she got us this like fancy one where you can have like, it's also a seat. You replace the whole seat of your toilet.
Okay.
You can warm up, and then you can also control the temperature of the water that comes out.
Can a dumb and useless person do this? Because I am not handy.
Yeah, you just use it's a remote control. Like you can definitely do this.
But like attaching it.
You should. Maybe you should make someone do that. Okay. I had my husband do it.
Okay.
A handyman, a teen.
Oh yeah, we do. We have a couple of those around.
But it really it makes a big difference. So it makes it so that the wipe in the end is just like a clean wipe. It's a drying off because you don't want to be wet, but it's not like it's not a smear campaign. So
I'm
just
gonna
the
get
thing
one
that I wanted you to know about because
I'm gonna
believe if you're going to spend this much time in the bathroom.
I mean, I don't know why I haven't already. I don't think I knew that you could like. I thought it was a whole extra like toilet, but I didn't know you could get it.
I mean, I think so. The rest of the world is hip to the bidet. Like this is like everywhere, and even throughout Asia, right? And in the Philippines, where my family's from, like it's. Like some of the bidets are like, it looks like a garden snake. It's like this rusty ass thing in the toilet, sort of scary. And it has like a little hinge. Like, so there's varying degrees, but even then if you don't have that, there's something called the tabo, which is like a pail that the idea being that paper isn't enough. Like it's not, it's only in America that we've decided that like paper is the solution to cleaning our asses. And it's not sufficient. And this is like the water is gentler and I don't know. And also, since we're going to have a toilet paper shortage, like any day now.
Listen, I'm on it. I'm going to order one as soon as we get off this call. It's not a call. This event, whatever this is, I'm doing it. That's all the thing I need.
Okay, great. I wanted to ask you about. I had read so like you started off as a blogger, writing books, and then now like Time Magazine is like, hey, you want to go profile Lizzo? Like that's the thing you do now. And I went back and I reread that profile, and I wondered like I was thinking like, could we pose some of these questions to you where you were like, you don't want to ask Lizzo like, why you, like why now, without sounding kind of like a jerk, right? But also like because she's been doing this for a long time, like. But like, how would you answer that question? Because I feel like it's relevant to where you're at in your.
I think it's kind of the same thing. I think there's a little. I've been doing this a long time. I've built up a fan base of people who are loyal to me. I give a lot of my work away for free so people can try it. I mean, honestly, like the 10 years of blogging, and I still do this newsletter, and like I just am constantly like putting work out into the world. So I think there's like some of that. Some of it is straight up like, and this is like the part I don't really understand, is like marketing, right? Mm-hmm. Like my last book did okay, and so then, you know, they put your book in more places and send it to more people, so that's got to be a part of it too. But I think also, and I know you're asking like the bigger question, I think, I mean, it's maybe a time for more diverse voices in this space, and people are more open to it. Like, you know, I love me some David Sedaris, and I love me some Nora Ephron or whatever. I don't know that she's the most relevant example, but let's go with her. But like, if like people who do kind of what I do, and maybe people are more open to hearing some, hey, my life is dumb jokes from a Black woman. I honestly don't know. I mean, the culture is changing, right? Yeah. Like I think there's like a shift where just more diverse people are getting opportunities. But I think for me specifically, it's been a long time of just like, you know, hey, read this blog, hey, read this thing, hey, here's a meme, you know, just like a constant, like I constantly keep work going, and I have kind of amassed this, you know, very dedicated group of people. I mean, there are people, I get messages all the time on Instagram who are like, yeah, I've been reading your blog since 2008. Like, you know, like a lot of that is just my core, like OG people. And then, I mean, honestly, the internet too, like, I don't, like, I'm not a sociologist, obviously, and I can't speak intelligently about it. But like the fact that people can so easily share my stuff, and I guess that goes back to like the giving it away for free, right? Or like the constantly writing online, is that like people can share my stuff, and then, you know, someone will be like, oh, that person has a book. I remember this thing she wrote, you know, at this time that I read, or, oh, she used to write that blog. I mean, I should write my blog more, frankly, but like, it's just kind of this, like, I've been constantly putting things into the world and it's paying off.
After years. Yeah. And I mean, I think it's interesting when you arrive at that place where you're like, I don't have to give this away for free.
Right.
You know, like, you can keep some, and it doesn't mean you have to be writing. You can just, I don't know, hang out. Right. Like, think about the next thing you want to do, or, you know, go on another, whatever. Yeah.
I still love to, like, you know, do the free stuff, only because, you know, it keeps you on people's minds. It's like a line between me and people. Like, here's what I'm thinking about, especially now that, like, I don't have a day job. It's like, I'm going to keep writing shit on the internet. So I, like, am still talking to people all the time. And then, like, again, you build that sort of, I mean, you know, it's a lot to ask somebody to spend $16 on some shit you wrote. Yeah. And if they know that, you know, for months they've been like reading my newsletter or whatever, they know that it's going to be worth the money. Then it's, you know, then it kind of builds that trust with people. But as far as the culture is concerned, I think we're just like slowly making a shift to opening more doors for people. And I think, I mean, honestly, not to toot my own butt, but I think like my success, or the ability, the things that have happened with this book especially, are like, more people like me are going to get deals now. And I encourage everyone to pitch your collection and use mine as a comp and be like, her sold, you know, like, buy mine. And I think that has happened too. It's like, we're seeing, I mean, I'm sure we don't really do the same thing, but I'm sure because like Roxanne sold millions of copies, they're like, well, this fat bitch kind of looks like her. Let's give her a deal too. You know what I mean?
No. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like the idea of comps, which is like not really, it's not a great science, which is what the industry is built on. But it's like, okay, I'll take that, right? And it's also, I mean, I think publishers, the industry wakes up to the fact that it's also, by the way, like makes sense from a business standpoint because there's many people who look more like us out there who are like take our money, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a good business model if you're just like a crass capitalist. Okay, we're going to move to questions from the audience.
Okay.
And I think this comes from a local librarian, Britta. I think that's you. What books or other media have you been enjoying lately? Oh,
I am currently reading. So I mostly read fiction because I like an escape. Also, reading like other people's essays makes me feel bad about myself. So I try not to, especially when I'm writing, I'm like, oh, I can't read that book. It's too good. I'm going to quit. So I read a lot of fiction. Right now I'm reading the new Emma Straub. It's called All Adults Here. It is very good. I also really love like a thriller and a horror book. And I just read this book called The Return, which was very good. And I keep telling people, I read this book a while ago called Under the Rainbow by Celia Lasky. It's fiction. It's about this fictional town, I think in Kansas, that's named like the most homophobic town in America. And they send some gay alliance sends like a task force into the town, and you get a lot of people's perspectives on the gay task force in this town, and it's really good. I'm not good at selling a book, but like those are 3 good ones.
Great. Thank you. Someone is asking, they're saying that they loved your tomato soup recipe on Instagram this week. And
oh my God.
I'm going to slightly modify the question, which is like, she's asking, will you write a cookbook next? Or like, would you ever do that?
Listen, okay, so here is the thing about when you pick this as your job. I will turn down no opportunity that is real. So if someone, first I would need to get a food person to do it with me. So it's like legit. But if somebody wanted to do one with me and somebody else wanted to give us money, yes.
You could just pick your favorite like Top Chef contestant and ask for a collab and see what happens.
I love Top Chef. I mean, let's do it. Wouldn't that be fun? I had this dream, maybe I can make this a reality, but like of doing a cookbook where like a real chef like wrote the instructions in a normal way, and then I wrote the like lazy how
you're actually going to do it.
Yeah.
And when halfway through you realize you didn't use the right amount of flour, or you actually
tasted fine anyway. And then we take a picture of my ugly one and their beautiful one.
I mean, I think that's like, cooking shouldn't be aspirational. The cookbook should be like real, right? This is how it ends up.
I'm going to text my agent. Let's get on that. Find me. But it has to be like someone. Like,
this is how you diversify your income stream, right? That's what this is.
Yeah. This is like when you see people doing things and you're like, ooh, she was desperate. She did not want to have to go back to working at the gas station or whatever. That's what you're going to be like, oh, Sam did what?
But I think, people can say that, maybe it could be true. Or if it's actually seems like fun, I just feel like you don't want to end up, I don't know. I think that there's an element of like, I don't want to do the same thing for the rest of my life. I want to write, right? But I don't want to just do one thing.
Right.
And if it actually feels good to you, like, or I feel like you're in a place where you could take a risk, Like,
I'm going to try it. Keep your eyes peeled. I hope you made that soup. It was delicious.
I want you and like Sheldon, one of my personal favorite Top Chef contestants. Or Gregory.
I love Gregory. Is he going to win Top Chef All Stars?
I think so. Or I think it's Melissa or Gregory.
I love Melissa.
If I had to,
But Gregory, he had to go against May, and like I wanted May to win.
But that
Gregory could have won.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, Gregory is amazing. But Melissa was in that season too. So I feel and she like made it to the top 3 or 4.
Yes, she did.
So
and her
like
mom was so cute. Her mom loved her so much.
And I think Melissa is the most adorable person. So
yeah, she's okay.
All
right. I'm Gregory or Melissa.
Yeah. See. So okay. Here's a good question. It's a little more serious, but I think people would like to hear from you on this. As someone who's healing from an eating disorder, it would be helpful for me to move towards being, as you are, a fully embodied person. Okay. Are there any suggestions for how to start? I currently both hate and fear my body. That's real.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, if there's, so this is kind of tricky. I would say, like, if you could do therapy, that would probably help. But I'm not in therapy, so I'll tell you like the kind of stuff I do. So I have found one of the things that has been the most helpful consistently, and I do it every day, is like, I used to do it on Tumblr, now I do it on Instagram. I just follow as many different types of people who show their bodies as I can. And I just kind of scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and look at pictures of like fat people in underwear. And I catch myself, I always think like, oh, she's so brave, or oh, they're so brave. And they're not brave. They're just taking pictures of the bodies they live in and they are posting them. And that is a thing that has been helpful to me. I also, so for a specific resource, and like, I'm sure you can search like hashtags or whatever. I'm trying to think who I was just going through Fat Girl Flow's feed earlier. Like Carissa is amazing, but like you can just like search hashtags or look at the explore page. I mean, y'all know how to work. I'm too old to tell anybody how to find anything on Instagram. And Carolyn Dooner has a book and an Instagram and a podcast called The Fuck It Diet. And it's about intuitive eating. And I know that like listening to a podcast is not a substitute for therapy, but it is not
everyone can afford it. So I mean,
yeah. She is so knowledgeable and she makes things so plain, and she's pleasant to listen to, and her advice is so good, and she is a good resource. And I think she's like the Fuck It Diet on all platforms, so you can find her, and she's incredible. But yeah, looking at people's bodies all day, every day. I mean, the internet is a fucking scourge, but it's also...
This is one of the best things about it. You can see the people you haven't been able to see for most of your life.
Yeah, like feeling like you're alone, like you're the only person is such a horrible, horrible, horrible feeling. And then just like seeing people living in their bodies, they don't even have to be doing anything revolutionary. They're just like laying on the couch or whatever. And it's like, oh, there is a person who looks like me and doesn't have whatever hangups I have. I mean, I am fully clothed all the time. I am in sleeves and pants down to the floor. It's not my ministry to post myself in my bra. But looking at people in theirs is really helpful for me. So.
No, I agree. I think that there's something too, you can justify hours of scrolling this way too, where it's like you want to get to a place where it's like normalized, where it doesn't seem remarkable to see a range of bodies, right?
Yes.
And to be able to see yourself within that is,
I mean, you really have to get into it almost like an absurd amount, right? Where you just are kind of like it took, my initial feeling is never like horror. It's like, oh, I'm worried for that person. Like I want to protect them from all the trolls who are going to say nasty things. And I have to stop myself from feeling that too. And just like kind of scroll and look. And like, it has taken years of that, but it certainly has helped.
I think we're going to do 2 more questions because we're creeping up on, I think it's 10 o'clock where you are now. So
it's okay. Not a
someone wants to know, this person is originally from Southwestern Michigan, Benton Harbor.
Okay.
And she's fascinated that you live in Kalamazoo.
Mm-hmm.
And how was the shift from Chicago to a place with a more middle America mindset? How's that been?
Well, it was hard leaving anywhere is hard. And Chicago is I'm from Evanston, which is just north of Chicago. And Chicago's the only place I have ever really lived. Like everyone I know, with the internet, but everyone I could like hug and touch and call my like real life friend is there. So leaving was hard just because of that. And then coming to a place that doesn't have like a lot of public transportation and restaurants and, places to go and places to occupy yourself. And like, I moved here and didn't have a job and like no office to go to every day, no purpose, other than like sitting in my own thoughts. And it was really hard because there was nothing here to distract me. There was like no big glossy mall for me to go sit in every day. So the adjustment was difficult at first. And I'm like, there's no Thai food and I want some Filipino food. There's none of that here. I have to like get on the Amtrak and go home. But on the flip side, what we pay for this entire house is less than my studio apartment in Chicago cost. And like, that is an incredible feeling. Like we did a drive to the flower farm, like just to, warm the car up. We like try to do a long drive, and we passed a gas station and gas was like $1.44. And it's like, I can't go back to the kind of butts to nuts traffic where everything is expensive. I don't know that I could go back. So like there are lots of city things that I miss, but they're mostly convenience things.
I don't know, like, do you miss like seeing Black people every day?
Kalamazoo has a fair amount of Black people. We have I don't know what to call him. The guy who takes care of our lawn, but like takes care of our whole lives is a Black dude. And I remember when I first met him, I was like, okay, like there's a whole Black side of town and there's like a soul food restaurant over there. So there are more than I thought there were, but it still isn't like, but Chicago is the most segregated city in America. So it's it's not as, there are a lot of, all types of people there, but you don't always see every type of person there is. So it has been a little bit of adjustment, but not as bad as I thought. And I found some good stuff too. I have like places I like, well, not anymore, but before the pandemic, I found like places.
Back when there were restaurants.
A couple restaurants that in the before times we went to.
Okay, the last question we're going to go with is, and I always love these questions because I also think a lot of times people in the audience are writers, and I'm curious about this myself. Like, could you just tell us a little bit about your writing process?
Oh yeah, of course. I always wait until the last possible minute. I have a couple of, it's so funny. I have a couple of like end of the week deadlines and it's like Tuesday night and I'm like, I'll start that Thursday. Yeah, I'll give that a couple days. So before, when I lived alone in my old apartment, I would always write during the day. It was like really important to me to like write when the sun was up. So I would mostly like write on the weekends when I didn't have to work. And like I had one day off during the week and I would write. Now that I live with other people, I can't write if like people are moving and things are happening. And so I got to wait till everybody goes to bed. And so I don't start writing until like 10 p.m. and I'll write until like 2 or 3 in the morning, which was a big shift for me. But the perimenopause, thankfully, keeps, I don't sleep. So I may as well do something with that time. And I have like a desk and lamp and the whole setup, and there's lots of books on my desk, and it looks very writerly. I never sit there. I sit in this old beat up armchair with like a big pillow on my lap and my laptop on top of that. And like, as for an actual like essay, I like to make notes here. I'll show you. Hold on. Excuse the close up, but like, here's some notes for this essay I want to write about a Zoom doctor appointment that I had, that if I do another collection, I'll put that in. I like to make notes, and then my main rule is that I always know how it's going to end before it starts.
Oh.
Yeah, I never start writing a thing until I know how it ends. So that's my, I mean, if I was
are
gonna,
you open to it changing? Like while you're doing it, you're like, oh.
Yeah, I mean,
begin
sometimes,
to have an idea.
but I have to write to an ending. I just will not write a thing if I don't know where I'm going. So that's my one piece of advice. Know where you're going. And then it doesn't matter how you get there. Just like know where you're going.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is incredible.
Yay.
Meg?
I'll jump in and do our outro. Thank you both for such an enjoyable, uplifting, informative conversation. I'm sure our audience agrees. It was absolutely delightful. I want to encourage everyone to smash that buy the book button and get Wow, No Thank You from our friends Third Place Books. We really want to support our bookstore friends, and tonight our bookstore friend in particular is Third Place Books. So please get a copy of Wow, No Thank You. If you feel so inclined, we'd also love some support for Town Hall Seattle. So we got that donate button at the bottom as well. Follow us on Crowdcast if you're looking for more ways to spend your quarantine. So yeah, thank you again, Sam and Angela. This has been such a wonderful event, and thank you to our audience for joining us from wherever you are.